Today we shall do backward class movement. Our Indian society has been divided on the basis of Varna system into four classes: the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and the Shudras. The Shudras are further divided into two: the touchable and the untouchable classes. Today, the touchable class is called as the backward community. We have been having two sections of society right from the ancient days. We've been divided into haves and the have nots, the privileged and the underprivileged, the capitalists and the proletariats. The proletariats or the underprivileged or the have nots are the oppressed, suppressed, and the depressed classes. Now, who made all these differences? It is all man made discrimination.
In every society, the privileged and the underprivileged communities existed. In ancient times in India, there were the oppressed and the suppressed and the exploited people. The society was divided into different strata based on the Varna system, that is, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and the Shudra. Pushyamitra Shunga implemented the Manusmriti in 185 BC. The first three categories enjoyed the benefits of educational, occupational, and financial facilities completely. Shudras were denied of educational, occupational, political, cultural, and financial facilities. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas used to make the Shudras do the menial work for them, but they were denied of all the facilities which they enjoyed. When we say the Shudras were divided further into two sections, that is, untouchables, that is the Dalits, touchables, that is the backward class people. Shudras were considered as the servants for the upper class people. And this was very clear enough that they were exploiting them. For example, who are the touchables? Who are the backward class people? The Kurubas, the Madiwalas, the Devadasi community, the Idigas, etc. All these were denied of educational, economic, financial facilities. And all these were called as the backward class or the OBCs, that is, other backward classes. And they were being exploited and socially humiliated. Now, these people had to gain back their privileges. To gain back their privileges, they had to agitate. Now, remember, students, this question can be asked for 1 mark. That is, who are the untouchables and who are the touchables? That is, untouchables are the Dalits or the Panchamas. Touchables are the backward class. For example, you can say Kuruba, Beshta, Madiwala, Devadasi, etc. And these people were the exploited, suppressed, and the oppressed classes. So, these are the touchables in which the Dalits are not included. So, the example for backward classes, if they ask you a question for 1 mark, then you have to say Kuruba, Besta, Nainda, Madiwala, Kumbara, Devadasi, Kamara, Tigala, Idig. Now to gain back their privileges, they had to agitate. People wanted to gain their equal status. In fact, people were not even aware that they were being exploited. They were not enjoying the equal status. But there were a few leaders who came up in the society, opened the eyes for the others, so that they could also understand that they were being exploited. They were not given the privileges what the other castes in the society were enjoying. Very noted personality. Jyotiba Phule started the Akshara Kranti in the year 1838 for the Shudra community, especially for the women, along with his wife Savitriba Phule. This they started to create awareness among the people. In fact, Savitriba Phule is the first women teacher who worked for the upliftment of the women. That is, she was the one who educated them, the women of the backward class. This, she and her husband, that is Jyotiba Phule, did it together because both of them had given equal support. And those days, women were not allowed to go to school. In fact, Savitriba Phule herself is not educated. She married Jyotiba Phule, and it was he who taught her, who educated her. I would like to give you one example. She used to carry 2 saris every day. Later on, when she started going to school to teach the others, people pelted stones at her, people threw dirt on her. So she had to change into another sari and then teach and then again come back home. So it was during this time that she and Jyotiba Phule together demanded that they wanted schools and they wanted hostel facilities for the students of the backward communities. There was backward movement in other parts of the country also. There were many other reformers who almost during the same period in different parts of the nation had started movements. In Kerala, it was Narayan Guru. In Tamil Nadu, it was Periyar Ramaswamy Naikar. In Gwalior, Sayaji Rao Gayakwad, who was the Maharaja. In Mysore, the Nalawadi Krishnaraja Wadiyar, who was the Maharaja of Mysore. In Kolhapur, it was Sahu Maharaj. Now let us come to the causes. This question as to explain the causes for backward class movement can be asked for 5 marks. And you need to give an introduction about who backward class community is and then explain the causes. Now let us see how many causes we have. One is social discrimination. Second is economic exploitation. Third, educational backwardness. Fourth, denial of political representation. And fifth, unification. Now coming to the first one, social discrimination. The backward community people were not allowed to come to the mainstream of society. There was discrimination like superior and inferior. The backward class people were not allowed into the mainstream of society, where all the others like the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas were there. These people were not allowed. They were asked to keep away from this section of society. They were being discriminated as they were called as inferior people, and the other three sections were considered as the superior, especially the Brahmanas community were considered as the superior. To get the facilities and their due share after independence, they started agitation. Now the people realized that they were being discriminated, they were being treated as inferior. Now, when they realized, when they got to know of what they were being deprived of, now they wanted to get back their facilities. They wanted their due share. So, after independence, all of them came together, got together, and started agitation. Second point, or the cause, is economic exploitation. Economic inequality of the backward classes was due to exploitation. Many of these communities were below poverty line. They were very, very poor. They were denied of all the benefits. Many of these have-nots were so very poverty stricken that they were least bothered about the other aspects. And the haves or the capitalists exploited them to the core. But as they got to know that they have been denied of certain things, to get back those facilities, they came together, they united together, and they decided that they will all together start agitation. Next, educational backwardness. Education was denied to the backward communities by the upper castes. As education is fundamental for self-development, these communities rose against the upper caste and organized agitations. Actually, it was very clear that education was only for the upper castes, and the lower castes were denied of this education because it was considered as a sin. When people became aware that they needed education, they all together went for an agitation to get education. That is, people realized that education was the basic necessity. Hence, all of them together agitated to get education. Fourth point, denial of political representation. A few communities dominated the political field and other backward classes were totally neglected. Srikantaraj Ayers led a backward class agitation in the Mysore province to get political participation to the non-Brahmins. A few communities, like the Brahmins, always dominated the political field, and the other backward classes were always neglected. Now they realized that without unity and integrity, the backward class people cannot achieve anything. Hence, the backward class people, who were more than 350 in number, were really ready to come together, though they were all scattered. They were all in different places. The reformers brought all of them together. They brought in unity and integrity. And from then onwards, many movements started. And all this because all of them were united and their goal was to bring in equality amongst the backward class society so that they also come into the mainstream of society. Hence, they started movements and fight for their cause. Thank you.